This is GT with the Vibe Podcast coming at you again. Got a question from one of our listeners that he wanted us to, wanted me to give some wisdom on. So I did some research and we're going to go ahead and answer this guy's question. So he asked me, how do you get your spouse to respect you more, or even just respect you in general? And so number one, guys, we're going to look at what respect actually is. So what is respect? A feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. So admiration equals approval. So their approval of you based on your abilities, qualities, and achievements. So elicited is drawing out of or evoking from someone in reaction to one's own actions or questions. And so they're drawing out of their approval for your abilities, qualities, or achievements. And so we look at abilities, look at qualities, look at achievements. Achievements going to be the easiest one for you to be able to measure. Achievements can be a doctor that gets a PhD or a doctorate. You can have firefighters that graduate from the firefighters academy, police that graduate from the police academy. And so those are achievements that give them an honor. And so that honor comes with a level of respect automatically off the top. Abilities is the next thing that you can look at and be able to gauge easily as well. So I think about it like a triangle, whereas at the top, the hardest is qualities. Then abilities is the next one down, and then obviously achievements, because achievements are seen. You go to a doctor's office, they have their plaque on the back that has their degree and tells you what the degree is in, the level of degree, so you can see that. Firefighters, they wear a badge, they wear a uniform. Police officers, they wear a badge, they wear a uniform. Nurses, they have uniforms, they work in hospitals, right? Or they work in homes, or they work in clinics. But you know when you go in there, that person is trusted, has a level of trust just based on the training that they received that goes into the achievements category. Abilities is something that is a little bit harder to measure, but you can still see it. I.e., for example, firefighters' ability to fight fires, render aid. You know when a firefighter shows up to your house because of their training and achievements in the academy, they can do CPR. They can put out fires. Cops. You know, if somebody is breaking into your house, you're going to call them because you know that they achieved the level of graduating from the academy. So you believe that they possess the ability to be able to stop a criminal or detain a criminal or come in and assist others as far as getting a criminal in custody as far as their abilities go. So you know they have that ability. They can do those things. Police officers have the right to basically take away your freedom because they can put you in custody and take you to jail. They have that because of their achievement. They graduated the academy, and with that comes certain things. The one thing that's hard to measure is qualities, because qualities come from deep within. Qualities are what drives a person. These are things that you can't always see, or the qualities of a person, their values, their morals, those things that are deep within inside, that actually is in the eyes of the beholder. So it's actually in the eyes of the person that you're trying to get the respect from. And so what I believe is there's going to be two types of people out here that you're going to be dealing with. People that will respect people merely based on achievement, status. This person is this, and these people will respect higher level authority. They'll respect presidents. They'll respect police officers. They'll respect firefighters to come do their job. They'll respect pastors, clergymen from the church. They'll respect doctors, therapists. But people that are on their level. So say you have a person and this person is just the average everyday Joe, everyday human being. They will not have the same level of respect for somebody that's on their level as they do for somebody that is above their level, i.e. achievements. So these people are centrally focused on achievements. 2, second type person is a person that understands achievements matter, but they want to see your abilities and your qualities first. These type of people, it's harder. They will give you a level of respect, but as they grow with you, or you grow on them, or you show them more, they give you more respect over time. And so I think that when you're asking this question, you have to decide which type of person it is that you're dealing with in your relationship or whatever, in your walk of life. Is it a person that gives respect more so based on achievement, or do they give us, or do they give a level of respect? Achievement gives you a level of respect, but then abilities and qualities come into place too, and then the respect can grow. And so I think that that's number one. You have to answer the question as to what type of person that you're dealing with. Will somebody be honest with you in their answers when you talk to them about this? Probably not. It's probably a hard subject to bring up. And so it brings me to point number 2. You must ask yourself 2 questions. Is it you, or is it respect? Is it you, or is it respect? Is it you as an individual, or is it a lack of respect in general? And I think that you have to ask yourself that. And so you can break that down into a couple of different ways. For men, does she follow and respect other men? For women, does he have respect for other women? And so you have to ask yourself that question about your partner. And that's how you can decide, is it respect or is it you? And I think that once you answer that question, then it takes you down the path of the next couple things that you probably have to do given this situation. So I gave some examples. Does your partner respect their bosses, family members, brothers, sisters, mom, dad, bosses, police officers, pastors, therapists? Do they respect doctors in general? If you answer yes to those things, then that person has the ability to respect. Maybe based on achievements a little bit more so than the other things, but that person possesses the ability to respect. And I think in general, most people do. I don't think that there's not a conglomerate of people out there that just can't respect, period. And so I think that most people will fall into the "it is you" category. If so, now we know that that person has the ability to respect. They possess what it takes to respect. They understand what respect is. So then you got to ask the second question. Why not you? Why not you? A couple things, a couple alleys, a couple avenues that you can go down within this realm. So we're going to take away the complete lack of respect. They just don't respect anybody. And we're going to go into the you category. And one thing you got to ask yourself is, do they respect themselves? A person that doesn't respect themselves is going to find it hard to respect a partner or somebody that they're in a relationship with. They have to respect themselves too, because there's a healthiness, and then there's a understanding that goes with respecting yourself. If you don't have that level of grace and energy for yourself, it's kind of hard to pass that on and then have that for somebody else in the relationship, right? So ask yourself, do they respect themselves? If they don't respect themselves, why don't they respect themselves? And what can we do to fix that? What can we do to fix that issue of you don't have no respect for yourself, so it's hard for you to have respect for me? Or the other side is they do respect themselves. Okay, so that leads us down another path. So now we're just kind of weaving down another path. So if they possess the ability to respect and they respect themselves, then you have to ask that same question again. Why not you? Like, what is it about you that is causing an issue? And so I will take you into 6 things that you can do. Sorry, I took a lot of notes on this, guys. There are 6 things that you can do when your partner is showing a lack of respect for you. 1 is communicate your deal breakers, okay? When there's a lack of respect in a relationship, there are things that will send a partner over the edge. These are deal breakers, and it's okay to communicate these because at the end of the day, the most healthy relationships have healthy communication, right? You must set healthy boundaries, and this is a boundary setting thing. You're saying, hey, I understand that there's a lack of respect in our relationship, but here's kind of parameters where I need to at least have us stay within. It can be, i.e., some examples that come to mind fairly quickly is making decisions for the kids. We make decisions for the kids together. That can be a boundary. That could be a set boundary that says, hey, in this area, I want this level of respect minimum. And it's okay to ask for that. I don't feel like it's a wrong thing to ask for that. If you feel like that you need that respect or that you need to set that boundary, it's kind of like the rails on the bowling alley where you're just trying to keep the ball from going offside. You still have the opportunity, you still have the ability to roll the ball down there and hopefully hit the pins, but you have boundaries to where the ball doesn't go in the gutter. Because if the ball goes in the gutter, then you can't hit any pins at all. Next thing, you must show your spouse that there are repercussions to their behaviors and their actions. So being blatantly disrespectful in front of kids, in front of family members, in front of friends, things like that goes into the communication and the deal breakers where you're communicating your boundaries and you're telling them, hey, these are things that I don't want to see happen or that I don't want to have happen. And so you have to communicate those with your partner and let them know, hey, I'm setting these are the guardrails for how we're going to operate inside this relationship, okay? We come under these guardrails, okay, we're going to have a conversation where there's going to be a problem. And you have to be okay with confrontation here. If you're not okay with confrontation in this particular instance, it's kind of hard to set that boundary when it comes to respect, okay? So you have to let them know that, yeah, there's going to be repercussions to their behavior. If you're blatantly disrespectful, now there's blatant disrespect and then there's disrespect that's kind of like swept under the rug. Stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be handled right then that you can talk about later. And you have to decide what those things are. Another one is seek professional counseling. Seek some type of help. But I think that within this realm and in this particular area that you have to make sure that you guys agree on the route that you're going to take to get help. It can't be, okay, this partner wants to get this type of help, and then this partner wants to get this type of help over here. You guys have to agree because we all know that, like I said in my prior podcast, what the culture of counseling is. So we already know what could happen when you go that route. So I think that you have to agree and that you both have to be equally invested in whatever route of professional counseling and help that you guys decide to get. Equally invested because what will happen is one person's less invested if you're less invested and you start to go and then you don't see the results that you want to see, typically that's when one partner leaves the counseling and decides to go a different route. And so you have to make sure that you guys are equally invested in whatever the goal is. So before you go into counseling, decide what the goal is. If the goal is, hey, I want to get us to a point where we have a healthy level of respect for each other. Leave that the goal, and then you guys figure out with your counselor the steps to get there. But if you go into counseling and you don't really have a goal, you're not really going to be able to get anywhere. Because when you think about it, if you go into counseling sessions and every session is something different and you're not focused on a main thing, like you don't have this main objective that you're trying to get done, in our instance here we're talking about respect, then you don't really get anywhere. You're just kind of like talking in circles. So you have to agree prior to going. You have to have an agreement. Hey, this is what we're going for. This is the main thing. And then when you get to counseling and when you start having conversations, you keep the main thing the main thing. We don't change. We don't deviate from our goal of going there. And a couple things on goals real quick. I'm going to go off topic for a second. Your goals have to be things that are narrow, not broad. I want to fix the marriage is a broad goal. You don't go into counseling with the goal of I want to fix the marriage. You go into counseling with the goal of I want to learn how to communicate better, because that gives you a tangible item to get to, and then you can see the results of that, and then that's what helps you have a better marriage. So I think you have to break it down into pieces and not take the whole, because I feel like if you take the whole into counseling, you're not going to be able to get anywhere quickly. It's going to take a long time to get anywhere, because you're going to talk about communication one day, and then you'll talk about respect the next day, and then you'll talk about healthy boundaries the third day. And so you never really get to actually hone in and fix any of the problems. And so if you decide that you want to go and you want to talk about respect, then that's the main thing, and keep that objective there. Make sure that you're focused on that. Every conversation that you have while in counseling should be focused on keeping that objective. I want to go and talk about gaining respect for each other. You focus on that, and you'll get to gaining respect a lot faster than, like I said, the broad stuff. Don't jump to conclusions. So objective number 4, don't jump to conclusions. Don't jump to want to do something. Don't make rash decisions. Understand that as you start to try to earn respect back, obviously there will come a time when you'll have to make a decision. But that doesn't mean it's today. Today, we don't jump to conclusions. Today, we try to keep everything mellow, and we try to figure out and keep that main objective what it is. If that's the main objective, then you go back to the other point so that you don't jump to a conclusion and think, okay, now I just got to jump out of here because I'm never going to be respected. That's an example of jumping to conclusion. And then the 5th thing, before we get to the crazy thing, is take time for yourself. So sometimes in these situations, when you're on the receiving end of a lack of respect, sometimes you need to take time for yourself. Because sometimes in these situations, you can start to develop I call it the sadness syndrome, where when you get beat down for so long, you stay down, and eventually you got to get back up. And so sometimes to get back up, you got to do that on your own. And I think taking time to yourself and kind of finding yourself, reinvent yourself sometimes. Sometimes you got to rediscover yourself, is a better word than reinvent. Rediscover yourself. Take time to look within yourself. Find your own balance and your own happiness. Confide in your friends for ways, for wisdom and ways to grow. Because if you have a good friendship circle, they can help you out with some of these things that are on this list. And then be open with them, because your friends care about you. They want to know what's going on too. But it's up to you how much you tell. But take time for yourself. I think that is extremely important in these situations, that you be able to get some time where you can kind of regroup. Because a lot of times in relationships, a lack of respect causes a lack of equality. So one partner doesn't feel equal to the other partner. And when that happens, you tend to beat yourself up. And so as you're beating yourself up, you're becoming your own punching bag. Sometimes you need to be able to regroup. And sometimes it's easier for wounds to heal when you let them air out a little bit. And it's hard to let them air out within the situation itself. And so that's objective number 5. Take time for yourself. Objective number 6, last but not least, if it's all bad and no turning back, you may need to talk about next steps. Obviously, we know what next steps is. It may be that the respect level is so severed that you don't think that it can get there. And sometimes it can't get there. I'm not going to say every situation is going to be, oh, yeah, we can definitely get it back, or we can get it. Because at the end of the day, respect is hard to gain but easy to lose. And it depends on the person and why they don't have respect in the first place. And so I think that goes back to phase 1, where you're trying to figure out, okay, what's really going on? And like I said, most people don't possess the ability to have no respect at all. Are there people that have zero respect out there? Absolutely, positively, yes. But there's a conglomerate of people that probably fall into that achievement category. They give respect based on achievement, because achievement is easy to see. You can see somebody's achievements. It's out there. It's an easy measuring stick for giving somebody respect, because it's tangible. I.e., like I said earlier, PhD. You can see the PhD. You know they have a PhD. Graduating from the police academy. You know when that person walks up to your door and knocks on the door, they have a badge on them that says city of wherever or deputy sheriff or what, U.S. Marshal or whatever it may be. You see that on them, so it's easy, it's tangible. Some people base their respect on tangibility. There's nothing that can be done about that. That's a personal problem, and I think that you have to decide now that you've decided, okay, it's not a respect thing, it's a you thing. Now you have to decide, okay, is it me or is it my partner? Is there an issue with the way that my partner views respect, or is there an issue with me, myself, not earning respect, right? Or were you not given the opportunity in the first place to be able to have a level of respect that's healthy? And so you have to ask yourself those questions. You have to ask your partner those questions. So it comes back to communication, right? But like I said earlier, lack of respect is one of the root causes of one of the main issues in marriages that lead to divorce: inequality. Being in a marriage where you don't feel equal to your partner is unhealthy. It leads to a lot of fights. It leads to a lot of problems. It leads to and a lot of times that leads to more disrespect. And it can be blatant disrespect. Your kids can feel it. Your family members can feel it. People can tell when you have these issues in your relationship. And so nipping this thing in the butt early on is something that I would implore you to do. The longer you let this thing go on, the harder it is to fix. Like once you sell the ship way the heck off course, then it takes a long time to get. The further off course that you get, the harder it is to get back on course. And I think that we have to see that. And that's the reason why I say keep the main thing the main thing. So if you decide to go to counseling, you have to keep that objective what it is. You can't go to counseling and then go back and forth and talk about something different every single time that you go into counseling. You focus. If you use focus center counseling, focus center when you're counseling and you're talking to people and you're talking to your therapist, keep that focus. It's easier to fix those problems. If you don't keep that focus, like I said, then you're kind of veering back toward course, but you're not quite. And so you're kind of staying off course and you're kind of going back and forth. So if the course is way over here and you're over here and you're like, okay, I'm going to talk about respect this week, but next week we're going to talk about let's say communication. Now you didn't veer back off course, because if the goal and the root cause of issues is respect and you don't align your goals with that, it'll be hard to fix. Hard to fix. So at the end of the day, I think that respect is huge. I know it's huge for men. Men want to be admired by their significant other. Men want their significant other to be like a fan, like a raving fan of them. They crave that. That's what helps a man be a man. And it's hard as a man, it's hard when you don't have that in your relationship. When you don't have that, it's hard. It's hard to go out every day and kind of do what you do, because then it's kind of like, why am I doing what I'm doing? So, like I said, you must ask yourself those questions. And then as I close this thing up, we try those steps before you decide to make a decision. If counseling doesn't work, which it may not, it may not. There's so many different things that go into counseling that people don't understand, that people don't look at. I can do a whole hour and 20-minute podcast on things that people don't look at when they go to counseling. And number one, keeping that main objective what it is. Why are you going? And then focus on why you're going. If you don't know where you're going, then you probably should figure that out before you start going. And so I think that it's not always a fix-it for the issues. And it may actually shed some light on what you need to do. And so as I continue to close this thing up, try those steps. Don't give up easy. Fight for it, because but with the understanding that sometimes in these situations, it is what it is. You can't change a person, and that person can't change you. A quote that I said with my sisters on the podcast this morning is, you accept a person how you found them, not how you want them to be. And sometimes it takes a while to figure out who a person is. They say that on average, you can get 4 or 5 years down the road and still not know who a person is if you're not paying attention. And sometimes we're not paying attention, especially men. We have an issue with paying attention. And so as we close this thing up, I keep saying close it up, but I keep going because I can go on all day about the counseling stuff. But try those things. Go to counseling, communicate, set boundaries, ask them for more respect. I mean, if you can try that. But you have to determine, is the person that you're with possess the ability to respect other people? Because if you're a man and your woman can respect and follow other men's authority and their guidance, but they can't do that for you, that's going to probably be a problem. Women, if your men can respect other women more than they respect you, that's going to definitely be a problem. And those problems lead to other problems. And I think that respect is the root cause of a lot of issues in relationships, and it's something that's not talked about. In my days, in my years of going to churches, they don't talk about it in churches. They don't talk about it in schools. My own parents didn't really talk about it. Haven't really heard a lot of people's parents talk about it. I don't hear a lot of couples talk about it. But it is one of the root causes of a lot of issues. Because when you think inequality, we can start with the lack of respect. So now they don't feel like they're equals in a relationship. Or let's talk about compatibility. Well, lack of respect can lead a person to feel like they're not compatible with the other person. So like I said, respect can be the root cause to a lot of things. And so I feel like when you focus on love, you need to focus on respect too. Respect is also biblical. It is definitely biblical for our Christian viewers. The Lord definitely has a big deal with respect for authority, because all respect and all authority was given from God. So if he gives it all, then definitely he expects you to be able to establish a level of respect for everybody that you encounter. But there's different types of respect that you give different people. You give respect to your kids. It's a different level of respect than you're going to give to a teacher. That's a different level of respect than you're going to give to a police officer. That's a different level of respect that you're going to give to a doctor. That's a different level of respect that you're going to give to your spouse. And I think that being able to understand those things will help us lower the divorce rate. As the divorce rate is skyrocketing, it's freaking crazy. They say 43% of people in divorces say that inequality is a problem, is a key for their divorce. And it starts with respect. And like I said, that's something that people view it differently, and I think that you need to have the understanding and the baseline for what respect is. But I also think that we need to communicate more as a society, in the communities, in the churches, about what it means to respect your spouse. Because at the end of the day, I feel like not a lot of life lessons are taught about relationships and relationships with your spouse, partner, significant other, whatever you want to call it, relationships with your kids. And then life is about relationships. That's literally what our podcast is about, is relationships. Life is about that. So I don't understand why it's not taught enough. It should be taught more. It should be talked about more. But I feel like a lot of things have become so self-centered that it becomes more about, I want to get this for me, or this helps me feel better. One thing that I hear a lot, that I used to hear a lot when I was younger, I want to get to heaven. So I feel like some people just do things just to get to heaven, and they don't understand that God values relationships. There's the reason why relationships exist. Work relationships, friendships, families is a level of relationships. Like I said, kids, spouses, everything encompasses in life. Relationships are extremely important, and how you treat your relationships is extremely important. I think that is something that the man upstairs definitely looks at, how you treat your relationships. So I'm sorry I can go off on a tangent all day about relationships. But real quick, we're going to be dropping another podcast. We had Shonda on this morning. We talked about communication, authentic communication, and we kind of spun into a little bit more of just finding your authentic self, finding out who you are as a person so that you can be that person and communicate that person with other people. It was a great podcast. That one will be coming out shortly. My next topic that I'm going to talk about is this equality in relationships, which seems to be a big issue. A lot of people have talked about it. So I'm going to dive into that. It's 43% of people say this is the reason why they divorce. So it's huge. It's a big deal. It's something that isn't talked about. And for me, I want to talk about the things that don't get talked about. I want to study and put the work in on things that don't get talked about, because I feel like the things that don't get talked about cause the most problems. It's easy to fix the easy stuff, and I feel like people get into the mindset of, I'm just going to fix the easy stuff, and let's not talk about the hard stuff. So we're going to talk about the hard stuff on this podcast. I will talk about it. My partners will talk about it. We will give you guys insight on it. We will study up on it. We will talk to people that have experienced it. We will go off of our own experience as well. So I'll leave you with that. Our next podcast will be dropping tonight, along with this one, and then we will keep it rolling through the week. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email us, or you can also message us. We will answer your questions just like I did tonight. I had somebody message me this last minute when I was planning on doing this particular podcast. I changed it up because we're here for the people. As you can see in our mission statement, we're the voice of the people. But we will talk about the things that nobody wants to talk about, those hard things that matter. Because at the end of the day, in order for you to bridge the gap and make it to where you have better relationships in life, we have to talk about these issues. We have to put time and effort into these issues. It can't be so me-centric, and I got to do this for me, and how do I do this for myself? You also have to take into account the relationships that are around you. How do we make people better? Not how do I make myself better only. And so we will keep pushing. We will keep thriving, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you very much.